Hey everybody, I'm Mel Larson, lead technologist here at WDS Creative, and in this video I'm going to show you how I load product data from a legacy SQL Server. Often the real truth behind established businesses looking to synchronize all their products from an old ERP to WooCommerce. Now there's many other solutions available, but today we'll focus on a C# console app, something basic, syncing to WooCommerce, and this is sort of going to cover companies that have a lot of SKUs, which is just item numbers, pricing rules, categories, images sitting in old databases, and looking for a solution that can scale at volume. So if you have more than like 5,000 products, you can sort of sync the local thing with an application, just depending on how your SQL data is set up. But I'll build some examples. But today we'll focus on products, mainly products, image from WordPress API and WooCommerce's API documentation, creating products, so products only. Later on, I'll extend on this. So let's just get into some key points. So the big problem is legacy product data is sort of locked in old SQL ERP systems. So that sort of makes it difficult for websites that are outdated, and you can't really scale it manually because now you're going to have somebody update it manually. It's impossible manually updating 5,000 products prices, and depending on how you set up is conditional pricing and all those things. So the goal is to automate product publishing, which we'll cover using a C# console app, and I'll show you an example WooCommerce WordPress setup that I've created. But yeah, the important parts is batching products for speed and reliability and stability. Mapping SKUs, saving the IDs from WooCommerce. If you don't understand what it is, I'll show you in this video. Handling images automatically with a fallback option. So if some products fail with image loading, you can sort of fall back. And just having a simple logging effect in your application. But I'll show you this basic app I've built. So this is sort of like a bare bones example. I've built more sophisticated parts of this, but I'll just keep it simple just to show you the potential. Because I found that many large scale businesses not large scale, but business with large catalogs, which are quite mid to large scale businesses, don't actually have a website with their products on. Some of them they do, but they sort of invest heavily in development teams for that. But I'll showcase you how you can do this for your company with C#, WooCommerce, and WordPress. Obviously, you can extend these in different languages, but my proficiency is in C#, .NET, and WooCommerce and WordPress. But without further ado, let me jump into a example. So I'll show you all the code, what it does, and where the solution lies. Cool. So now we are in the application solution. So I'll just be going over briefly of how everything is built. So obviously you need your app configuration. This is sort of part of your JSON file. So these are going to be your SQL connection string, your authentication variables from WooCommerce and WordPress, and paths to your local server or machine. So one of the key ones are you need a WordPress Media. Well, actually you can go over this. I can go over each and every one, but I think it's better if you repo this from the GitHub and test it out on your own. These are sort of just all your variables that you need and classes, and then you sort of just load your application settings. So if I go here, here's the example of all the stuff you need. So to load images, you need this API URL and this product batch. This is sort of about product batching. So just a key note, I actually forgot to add in this, you can only load 100 products at a time. That's one of the WooCommerce limitations. We could just say per request. In any case, then you have your WordPress endpoint, your batch, your authentication, it's your username as an administrator, and then application password. So application password, I can actually show you quickly. Let me just head over there quickly. There it was. So over here, you can go to your users and see there's my username, and you just edit it over here. And that API password, you actually need to set it over your application password. So it's not going to be your login password, it's going to be the application password. So you just generate it over here and load that into your application password. WooCommerce and key and secret key, those you can just find over here. So if you have WooCommerce setup, settings, you just head over to advanced. You sort of get your secret key and stuff. Oh yeah, REST API. So over here you just add a key, and then make sure it's read and write, because you're going to be creating products and reading data. So that out of the way, so let's just head back to it. Here's all your variables, and here's the main task async. So I've added in login, so you can log what's happening, what's created, and you obviously need a HTTP client to send products. So here's the run product section. So over here you connect into your SQL database. So this is ITEMMASTER I've set up. Over here we have your item number, which is your SKU. Categories I'm going to show you in a later one, and then a pick location and tech info location is where the product technical information lies, and the picture location. So this do sync is sort of a condition. In the future, it'll be important if you want to update stuff. So WooCommerce sort of creates a unique ID, and you sort of have to keep that stored in your local database if you want to update things in the future. Let's say your product price change, you change it, and then do sync becomes 1 if you have a front end built for that. And then IC item is the actual SKU number and your product description. These other data variables is something from an old database I've pulled. In any case, so let's get back into it. So over here you'll do a do while repeat. So that's the way you can sync through your products. And over here you start building the JSON payload. So this sort of you can get from WooCommerce documentation if you're looking to build something of your own. And over here I've built some helper functions to build the products. The important one is you need to load the image first, because the WordPress image API is separate from the WooCommerce one. It's kind of a weird one, because in WooCommerce you can only link to a live image on the website. So you sort of have to create the product image first before you create your actual product JSON payload. And then over here we start looping through the products, and over here is the SQL query builder to get the product data. In any case, so then we go through here, extract product data, you get that from the database, you build the payload, and then you save the web IDs to your local database. So this is the part where I said it's important. This is your WooCommerce IDs, and that's sort of, you cannot change. It's sort of a primary key variable. And then you just update and store that in your local database. So if I go over here and just select the top 100, let me just close some of these things. You see WebPro ID. So that's your web product ID. That's a WooCommerce variable that you'll need in the future if you want to update prices and things in your application. And then, yeah, this is sort of the get image upload. There's quite a lot of code involved here. Let me just see. Yeah. And then you sort of load your images through this, and you can have all your variables and failovers if it doesn't work, and retries, which it sometimes happens, guys. If you have a large database, you sort of have to play around with it. I found that sending the full 100 can have some implications, but it all depends on how your hosting environment has been set up. So I've sort of done these with like high performance VPS servers and cloud servers. Then you sort of can sort of scale it to 100 depending on how hectic your data is, because you'll have technical files you'll open and send with the payloads. In fact, I need to actually show you. So in the project, I've loaded products, images. Here's the images stored. Just as an example, so these are the images that's being sent to WooCommerce, and this is the technical files. Over here you can see it's sort of sort of a built-in thing. Now, sometimes if you just send the JSON payload, your data can sort of not be neat. It'll sort of be all inline. But I've written a function to sort of cover that, so that it actually writes exactly the way the text file is. And so there is more. Let me just go through some more code here. Okay, just some retries. Here's another part of the product JSON that you build. This is sort of escape characters from SQL, ensuring that your JSON payload has new lines and things like that. That's sort of the part where you need in your technical information part. Then there's the HTTP client. Oh, and when you're looping, you sort of have to remove a comma trail that I found in some of the, well, in every JSON payload when you're looping through products. So the trailing comma is sort of a required one. So the MD5 hash we're going to cover later. So this is sort of the whole application. So I hope I've actually explained it. I went through it quite quickly. I can do a more in-depth one, but that's sort of not too important. I think everything will be available in the GitHub thing that I'll load. So if you want to test it out on your own, or if you need, if you would like to get somebody to sync up your legacy system or need some advice, you're welcome to give me a contact, which I'll create a calendar link in this video as well. But in any case, so that's the whole thing. So let's actually run it and see what it does. Cool. Products batched. Okay, I think I've already run this. Cool. I might actually just update the video, just check why it is not a load. Okay, let me just check here. See the logs. Okay, I think it actually has run. Let me just have a look. Products. Cool. Let me just check. I think I might have forgotten to update something so that it is not a loop. Let me just pause the video and I'll just put in a cutscene here. Cool, we are back. So what actually happened, I forgot to set my WEBPROID ID as null. I actually put it as 0. In any case, now we can actually run it to see what it does. Cool, there we go, batch connecting to database. Now obviously I've built a front end. It sort of looks nice with more complex data sets with some of the large companies, and it sort of works out perfectly. Okay, cool, connected to batch 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. I've run it at select top 1, so it's going to select one product at a time. So now it said it's successful. Let's have a look if we have products loaded. Okay, cool. There we go. So here we can see products have been loaded. Image have been loaded, and this actually is super quick. I'm actually surprised at how quick it has loaded this. And then you have your technical data, how it looks, product created, product name, your technical description, your price, and you see there's no categories at the moment, so that one sort of I'll add in as an additional one in the console app. But yeah, there we go. So let's have a look how it looks on the front of WordPress. So here you have your product loaded, SKU, and everything. Cool. So that's sort of loading products to WooCommerce using a C# console app with some legacy SQL data and setups. So yeah, let me just cut the scene off, and then we'll check you guys on the next one. Cool. So that's sort of the gist of it. Loading products, images, technical information, product names, item numbers, SKUs to WordPress and WooCommerce. So that's sort of a basic setup. You can obviously extend this into a more complex data sets, because most of the companies I've built this for sort of had conditional pricing, needed a front end for the employees to handle synchronization on their own. Obviously, this one you can use for task scheduler, Windows task scheduler, or whichever Linux cron jobs you want to load to automatically sync things like this. But there's many extensible ways of doing this. But something that's surprising, a lot of large-scale companies haven't invested in this prior, but I think it's sort of a fantastic upgrade to any mid to large-scale business with more than 5,000 products to sort of invest into something like this. Getting your local ERP data on your website and offering your clients access to your data directly, because that sort of it saves a lot of time for customers looking for your products, and you not having it on your website or having to send manual catalogs can be a pain for your employees or waste a lot of time. So a lot of companies have already invested in this. But yeah, if you want to have the source code for this basic application, I'll leave it in the GitHub. I'll probably do a video on categories and blending this with the product sync as well. Later on, I'll look at more complex things to add on onto this application. But if you'd like to hop on a call, or if you need some integrations done, I'll leave my Canada link in the description below. Also, the GitHub link to the source code that I've built here on the video. But yeah, anyways, I hope you found some value in the video, and yeah, cheers for now.